shortly after each one of the Occupational Health Advisory Board meetings.
Thank you very much.
Jim Blaine, 438 Delco Electronics. Did the advisory committee do any research on the brain tumor research going on at Delco Electronics?
We recently, some of us as individuals recently learned that there is a study underway and asked whether or not we could see a copy of the report, but I don't know what the outcome of that will be. We have not been involved in it to date.
Thank you.
Let me just mention that the study of brain cancer at Delco Electronics, Milwaukee, that study is a preliminary study, and it's being conducted by the UAW-GM Joint Epidemiological Activity, which there is one epidemiologist from the UAW Health and Safety Department and one epidemiologist from General Motors working on that project jointly. And it's being supervised by Dr. Michael Silverstein, and he's up here, so let's ask him to comment.
I think the very quick response to the question is that we now anticipate that that brain cancer mortality study will be completed within the next several weeks, and that the National Committee will be able to make a determination about the best way to communicate the results to all the affected people. We know that this has been in process for a very long time. As you're aware, this started a number of years ago with a NIOSH investigation, following which we decided to continue to do a more comprehensive study. It's been going on a very long time because of the complexity of it, but it's moving to a conclusion very quickly now, and I fully expect that we're going to have this study completed within a few weeks, and that the results are going to be made available to everybody that has an interest in it.
If I can interrupt just 1 minute. John Gilbody, would you please go over to the side over here? John Clark has an emergency phone call for you. John Gilbody. Jack Gilbody. Is he here? Oh, he's got it? Okay.
I'd just like to state that the membership of our local union will be very pleased to get back the information, whether it's good or bad, and we're looking forward to you coming into the plant and disseminating that information to us so our membership can be brought up to date on what's going on with the study.
Just one other point. As you may remember, after the NIOSH investigation was completed several years ago, we made visits to the plant and talked about those results and what we thought they meant and what needed to be done to a large number of people. I remember Ted and I appeared at a membership meeting at one point and had the opportunity to discuss the results fully. I don't know exactly what the format is going to be for communicating the results of this new study when it's completed, but the National Committee is fully committed to providing those results and along with an opportunity for questions and discussions to everybody that's interested.
Thank you.
There really is no plan for additional studies, and the company says they are not planning any additional studies.
Bill, what chemicals are suspect?
There are primarily two chemicals, John. However, the main chemical is that of Freon. Now, they use that in the avionics part in what's called the clean room area. They make gyroscopes for missile guidance systems and aviation guidance systems. That Freon is actually sprayed around, and some of the plant workers we spoke with in this clean room area say that they're covered with this Freon, and their eyes burn in there, and it's something that there really is no conclusive evidence that points to a problem with Freon, but that's the number one chemical. The other one is the chemical beryllium. That's what many of these gyroscopes are made of, and that's the number two chemical. However, the plant uses some 900 chemicals, so it's really hard pinpoint it to one.
Well, what do some of the other union workers think about the study?
Well, it's kind of 50-50. They're happy that they've gotten to this point. It's been 15 long years, and they feel a little bit uneasy because they say, well, if there is such a problem with brain cancer, or we see these larger than expected numbers, something is obviously wrong. We want to know what's wrong. Now it's up to the company to institute the recommendations that were made in this report or in this study to clean up the act, and that's where we're at right now.
Now, if that study does prove inconclusive, what is the next step?
Well, it comes down to the instituting those recommendations, cleaning up the plant in terms of a better vapor recovery system, more air exchange, cleaning filters. One worker said that there was a filter on one piece of equipment in that clean room that should be changed every 6 months. It hasn't been changed for 6 years, according to her statement. So it's instituting changes like that. The company says they are going to do that, and union workers tend to agree. However, they're going to take a wait-and-see attitude.
And you'll stay on the story.
You bet we will.
Thank you, Phil.
Okay.
Smoke is still rising from a big warehouse fire on Milwaukee's south side. It took more than 100 firefighters to contain that blaze last night.
There's an incomplete Clarence.
And I'll explain in a moment.
In weather, a beautiful weekend forecast. In sports, Packer and Brewer highlights. Tom Pippins is off tonight, and Nancy Chandler is resting up after a tough week covering the Republican convention in New Orleans. We'll have the news for you next.
News at 10 with Nancy Chandler, Mike Miller, Vince Contella, Tom Pippins, and the entire TV6 News team.
Good evening. A new study on brain cancer out tonight is sending shockwaves through an Oak Creek electronics plant. The report says Delco workers are 4 times as likely to die of brain cancer than the general public. But as Bill Hudson explains, what some call proof, others call incomplete.
Yes, I am worried.
Diane Finco has spent a lifetime working inside this Delco electronics plant. But 15 years ago, she became suspicious as fellow workers fell prey to cancer.
In about 4 years, we had 5, 6 deaths right in the immediate clean room.
What did this make you think?
Made us think that there was something wrong in there.
Her suspicions led to studies. The most recent concludes that, quote, a significant excess of brain cancer has occurred in this plant. The union says the smoking gun points to chemical exposure on the job.
The findings suggest that brain cancer has been caused by workplace chemical exposures. In particular, the brain cancer appeared to be associated in the plant's clean rooms, where there is potential exposure to freons, solvents, and gyro fluids.
The report says the incidence of brain cancer among workers is 4 times what is expected. Pancreatic and ovarian cancers are slightly more than double. As you might expect, the release of this study is causing a great deal of concern here at the Delco plant. So today, company officials called employees under a big top tent to explain the findings and try to ease some of their fears. After that meeting, Delco told reporters it will change plant procedures.
We have already taken action by instituting a comprehensive chemical control and medical observation program at this plant.
Those changes will be made even though the study does not link specific chemicals to the cancers.
It's very difficult to do these kinds of studies. You don't know what exposure is causing the disease. The only way you can verify these studies is do many studies like this around the country to see if a picture emerges where all the studies come up with the same results.
But some workers still point the finger at the chemical freon, saying vapors build up and ventilation is lacking.
They're blowing that freon out into my face all day long. The only thing when I spray my units I'm protected from is a piece of plastic. That's all that hangs down between me and that freon.
We will be reviewing all of our practices and procedures to ensure that we have adequate policies and practices in place and that we are in fact following them.
We're looking forward to working with the management jointly and getting these recommendations and the strict guidelines and following them to the T implemented as soon as possible.
Delco and the union will get together next week, working out recommendations from a study that is raising more questions than answers. Bill Hudson, TV6 News, Oak Creek.
Delco workers of Local 438 will hold a special membership meeting Sunday afternoon to discuss the study's findings.
Maybe 4 times the national average. General Motors and the United Auto Workers released a joint study today. It covered a 36-year period and found that 16 workers died of brain cancer during that time. That's again 4 times the number you would normally expect. Delco today pledged new chemical control procedures at the plant and medical observations of workers. UAW representatives say that's a start.
It's a serious situation, and all of us are taking it very serious. The local union here is very active, and probably the most active of any UAW local that I know of.
And is there the feeling that the management is taking it serious, too?
Management never took us serious, but they will now, hopefully.
Chemicals that are suspect in the cancer deaths include Freon, a refrigerant used in the making of space navigation systems at Delco.
Call a massive strike if company officials don't move quickly to improve safety at the plant. A recent report shows the Delco workers are 4 times more likely to die of brain cancer than the general public. Katie Mann has been covering this story, and she's here with details. Katie?
Joanne, union leaders at Delco met today to discuss strategy they'll use tomorrow in a meeting with company officials. Union leaders say among the safety problems at the plant is a lack of ventilation and a lack of information about how to safely handle the chemicals used at Delco. They want to see immediate action by the company to correct these problems. Their proposal is based on recommendations outlined in the report. The same recommendations company officials say they're willing to pursue. But union leaders say that promise doesn't necessarily mean a meeting of the minds at tomorrow's bargaining session. The recommendations are broad. They want specifics, and they want the work to start soon.
The problem with implementing recommendations is how quickly would something like this take place. Are people willing to wait for a year before there is proper ventilation in the area?
Union leaders say they're not willing to wait, and if some sort of an agreement isn't worked out tomorrow, they'll call the UAW's international office for permission to strike.
That's right. Well, Katie, company officials say they've gotten the recommendations of the report. What kind of timetable are they putting on it?
Well, right now, Joanne, Delco officials aren't promising any specific timetable. They couldn't be reached for comment today, but yesterday I spoke with the plant manager. He said that the company is committed to providing a very safe workplace, and he won't guarantee any specific timetable, though.
Okay. Thanks, Katie.
Blaming what they call fat cat salaries. The report showed a high number of cancer deaths at the Oak Creek plant. During an all-day meeting with company officials, the union demanded the company make some changes. The union wants better ventilation, better supervisor training, and better control of chemicals inside the automotive parts plant.
High on the priority list is chemical exposures plant-wide. It's hard to measure chemical exposures or health and safety as one being more higher priority than another, but yet we have to do it in this situation.
The union says some employees are afraid to come to work after the report showed 21 Delco workers dying of brain cancer since 1950. The union and the company are set to meet again a week from today.
I'll prove it's committed to a healthier workplace. 16 Delco workers have died of brain cancer since 1950. That number is 4 times the national average. A recent study claims chemicals in the workplace are to blame. And today, union and company officials met to talk about ways to clear up any health hazards.
It's up to management now. We've given our specifics. There were action items given. People are going to be out on the floor looking to see if those action items can be implemented.
Delco management says it will do all it can to make the plant a healthier place.
Some families in Franklin are environment free of cancer-causing material. A report released last week showed a higher than normal incidence of brain cancer among plant workers. Union representatives met with the plant management today to talk over the report and the workers' request. There is no suggestion of a strike over the health issue, at least at this time.
We don't want our members in the plant to get a misconception that there's going to be some type of strike action taken. They need to vote on those kind of things. The issues need to be laid before them, but certainly we need to sort through the recommendations and find out where the issues lie.
And the discussions will continue through the week.
Joint Committee on Health and Safety.